Get your one-way ticket to midnight. Call it heavy metal. That's right. We're getting the lead out and we're talking rough and tumble distortion. Hey everybody, Matt Bell with the Electric Violin Shop. Welcome back to our From Classical to Radical series. We've talked before about what distortion is and what some basic concepts are around using distortion. Because the violin acts so differently when it's distorted though, I think it's worth a little more discussion. In the world that we live in, when people hear distortion, they think guitar. This is not necessarily a problem for us. We can either fight it or we can embrace it. In a previous episode on song construction, we talked about finding parts to play. We'll talk a little bit more about what types of parts that you'll find guitars play in pop music. And we'll tie this all together with some different distortion playing techniques. So one thing we can do is we can sort of drag out some long tones, right? So another thing we can do is we can do some chunking. We can do some sort of padding. We can do some palm muting. That's a technique that you'll see a lot of guitar players do where they're sort of using the palm of their right hand to mute those strings out as they're playing. And it gives you this little bit of a... We can actually do a single note line. We can use pizzicato. We can use pizzicato to get a sound that we want. We can even use a guitar pick if you want. So there's a lot of different ways to get sound with distortion on your violin. Those are like 7 or 8 ideas right there, and I'm sure you can come up with more. But the point is, in a given song, you're actually going to hear a lot of those different parts. You may hear one guitar going, and in the same song, right on top of that, you'll hear somebody going, and then maybe somebody else is going, right? And then you've got somebody underneath going. That's sort of done by just barely touching the string with my left hand to mute it out. You might even hear somebody going. Maybe you've got somebody going. And then, maybe there's somebody above that going. So all those sort of create together what we would call a bed. That's just sort of a bed sound. And if you're looking for parts to play in your band, maybe you got 2 guitar players. It's sort of it's a rock song that's really got nothing but guitar in it. Then you can find one of those other parts that your guitar player's not playing. So notice how different the right and left hand techniques are. We really sort of have to experiment with the sound of the instrument, and you can sort of sit there and play with distortion and see how it affects your instrument, affects your sound. You may be able to come up with some more stuff. Keep in mind when you're trying to emulate the electric guitar, what do they sound like? They have a real sharp attack and then this quick decay or drop off, and then the distortion will help hold all that out for you. But the guitar itself has a real sharp attack and then a drop off. This can be done by playing pizzicato. You can do it with a pick. You saw me bouncing the bow off the string. In fact, you can even roll the stick over, and when the hair is hitting the string, the stick is hitting the string also, sort of adding that percussive sound. I actually got that idea from Shauna Tucker, who's one of our friends, a really outstanding cello player. So a lot of guitar players, believe it or not, actually try to get that bowed sound. Eric Johnson is a really notable example. So don't give up on the bow just because guitar players don't have one. that's one aspect where we can embrace the difference between the two instruments. All right, now while we're here, we might as well talk about wah. Wah sounds okay on a clean tone. We're actually going to play a little bit. Wah sounds pretty cool on a clean tone. It sounds really good on distortion. Now remember that playing with distortion causes a lot of mud in your sound. So all the nuances of your playing will not survive that effect. So you're going to need to adjust your playing accordingly. It's also worth thinking about some more hammer-on pull-off stuff. Guitar players do this all the time, and it's really easy to see why. So let your left hand become more percussive, and you're going to get a better attack on those notes, which is often what you want. So you're slamming the fingers down on the fretboard, or the fingerboard. I know we focused on a lot of electric guitar stuff here. That's basically because I'm sort of a frustrated guitar player trapped in a violinist's body. But there are a lot of uses of distortion that are more violin-centric and less guitar-y. If you just want to use subtle amounts of distortion, you can get just a little bit of edge on your tone, just a little more authority, and still keep that violin sound. That's perfectly cool. Just understand that double stops are going to sound more distorted than single note runs are. Sometimes you can use just a small amount of distortion to give yourself a lead boost. It's just going to give a little more sort of edge to your sound and help it punch out there a little more. So you're going to get some of the benefits of distortion, like you're going to get a little more sustain, a little less of that piezo sort of quack that we get. And like all effects, you're going to find a psychological benefit. When your brain hears a different tone coming out of the instrument, it's going to inspire different thoughts in your head, and you'll find yourself playing lines with a distorted tone that would have never crossed your mind with a clean tone. So in a lot of ways, it's cool to practice with these effects for no other reason than you're just going to generate more ideas. Maybe you come up with some more stuff to play. You'll come up with some cool new lines. Remember, we're not saving lives here. It's just rock and roll. Experimentation is encouraged. Practice a lot. Try some of this stuff. Have some fun with it. If you've got some ideas that you think are new or different from what I'm talking about, we'd love to hear about them in the comments section. If you have any questions for us, you can hit us in the comments section, or you can find us at info@electricviolinshop.com. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all these different platforms you can reach us. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time.